All right, welcome everybody to Tech Brew. As always, thank you to our sponsors. And I look forward today that we are going to be back in person. I don't think that time is actually too far off, perhaps by the end of the summer, especially if people start going to concerts and things. So if all goes well. And tonight, Bob is kind of queued up this concept, which I think makes a lot of sense because we have a great community at Soft Tech. There's lots of brilliant minds and a lot of people who want to act, who want to help. And there's also lots of folks who are retired. And quite honestly, they don't need to work. But if they can lend a hand to another entrepreneur, someone who has a great idea, that's kind of what it's all about. So he's going to share kind of the concept, something he's been working on for quite a while and has a lot of experience around because he's been involved in the startup weekends, and he'll talk a little bit about that. But Bob, I'll hand it over to you to
Okay.
walk us through this.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Just to kind of set the stage, I'm a serial entrepreneur and a recovering workaholic. The second one's not going well, but the thing that I wanted to go through today is I've been involved with Softtech for almost 25 years now, and Softtech exists in our community for a very specific reason, and I'd like to be very clear about what that is. And I'm going to try to get the timing of my foils working properly, but I'm struggling here a little bit. Come on.
It's how demos usually go, right, Bob? Never
It's,
quite as well as you'd hoped. You might have to hit that
there we
end
go. Okay.
button.
So Softtech exists to create what we call Softtech moments. For those who are sponsors of Softtech or have been involved with us so over the years, uh, we are out to create Softtech moments in the technology business area. And a Softtech moment is when people, ideas, and resources come together in our community and create a business opportunity. This is kind of the magic of what goes on in business formation is those pieces have to come together. You have to have really smart people, really good ideas and resources to be able to pull a business off. And so like I said earlier, I am a serial entrepreneur, and I've been through that process 7 times, 4 times successfully. The other 3 times I learned from. We'll just leave it at that. But every one of those, and every one I've seen from any of my friends, has always gone through the same basic steps. These are getting your foils to time out properly. There we go. Uh, the idea, coming together with a team, going through a planning process, out to a funding process, and then ultimately a launch. I propose to you that it's impossible to start a business without going through these stages. And I do know that there are people that think they can launch a business as an individual. I don't believe that's possible, because I think what you're doing when you do that is you're creating a job. You're not creating a business. You're creating a job if you're doing this and you're the only person in it. All you did is create an independently billed job. And so that's kind of where we're at. I'd like to pause for just a second. And since it is a smaller group, who's had an experience with a soft tech moment or with a business launch that can give us a few seconds about that? Anybody? Trevor.
Yeah, I've been one of 3 or 4 people that turned into a business of 100 plus, and every every phase had challenges. Every component was reliant upon really good communication. It was a ton of fun, and I love the concept of why we are all here today. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from everybody.
Okay. So I think that almost everybody who experiences this sees the same thing. It goes through these basic stages. And what we're trying to do in Softtech is something called VBIRD, which is visual or virtual business incubation for research and development. We're trying to give a structure that people can come to find support within the community of how to go through this process. And so that's the acronym, that's what it stands for. And it's about business formation. It's about bringing those people and ideas and resources together within the community. And I've been through this a number of times, and I think that it's really important to be able to look at a structure and say, how do you move through something like this? And so here's a typical VVERT pipeline, and I'm going to do this in a particular way here, but it all starts with the tech pitch, the idea of the presentation. If you go to a startup weekend, you'll notice on Friday night, startup weekend, for anyone who hasn't been to one, is about a 52-hour marathon held out at Cal Poly that goes from presentation to minimum viable product over a weekend. Doesn't always do that, but that's the goal of the thing. And so VBird is really a startup weekend for adults who have day jobs and have to, have more constraints in that. And also, we don't like the idea of, you hold a startup weekend once a year. That may not fit in the time frame of what people are trying to get done. But from the Tech Brew team creation and an SBIR pitch, a pitch is a short document that you submit to an agency that tells them what you want to develop, and they will come back and they will give you either an approval or not on your idea. Is your idea got research merit? Does it? They go through a lot of checks to determine whether they will accept a proposal from you. If they accept the proposal, then you can go through and do a launch plan and a phase one proposal submission. The phase one proposal submission is about a 25-page document, about 7 different segments, as I recall, and you have to meet all their requirements going through that. The end result of that is a phase one funding, which is $256,000. My business right now is right between 5 and 6 on this pipeline. So I've been through all of the top parts, and I'm now waiting and holding my breath to see whether it gets approved or not. And I'll know within the next 30 days. Beyond that, the phase 2 proposal is the second stage of this. It's $1 million in funding over a 24-month period, and you can only apply for phase 2 if you've had phase 1. But again, it gives you basically $1.2 million. And then from there, you go into a launch process for that business. So these are the steps of one pipeline that an idea might conceivably go through. Another team might go out there and maybe they can't get an agency to approve their concept, but they find a private investor, or there's 1,000 ways to do this pipeline. This is one of them. And it's the one that I'm pursuing at this point, which is why I wanted to talk about it. And I think I guess I want to stop a little bit here and ask if anyone has any questions at this point, so that I'm not just rambling on and on.
Bob, remind us what the NSF stands for.
National Science Foundation.
Okay.
The reason that I went to the National Science Foundation rather than the 11 other agencies that exist for that is that they would do a pitch proposal where I only had to do the pitch of 1,500 words before they tell me whether there was going to be acceptable idea or not. The other agencies, you have to do the full proposal, and that's an awful lot of work at risk. At least we know that if you go through the pitch process, you know that they're going to read it. You don't know that they're going to fund it, but you know that they've said, yes, this sounds like something that we would fund. So it's kind of that first step, because the first time I did a submission of a pitch, I got rejected twice. But I'm not very smart. You have to say no to me a bunch of times. It's part of my nature. But that's kind of the process that we're going through with it. So this is kind of just background information on it. It's $1.25 million grant. Basically, there's no equity given up. There's no liability that's left over at the end of that. It's a grant based on the merit of the research. And so if you've got a good tech idea, it is one of 1,000 ways to go to market. So, we want to make a point. You're not alone. We're here to help. There are lots of resources in the community. When I went to do my pitch, after I'd been rejected the first time, and before I got rejected the second time, I went to the Small Business Development Center and I got a consultant out of there that helped me understand what they were saying in these things. I went to a webinar on what the agency was looking for. And then the third time around, I got my approval and then I got a submission. And that's kind of where I'm at this point. So this process this evening is as simple as 1, 2, 3. Who you are, what the problem or idea is, who you need on your team, and it's got a 60-second limit. The idea here is the pitch is the first step of trying to bring the idea together with the team. And I guess I'd open it at this point. This is all my presentation for this evening. The rest of this should be just a basic pitch. So I'm going to quit sharing my screen and I'm going to point out for Brian. Brian, I would like you to show them let me finish up what I got here. Just a second. Okay, so Brian's screen is going to go green when you start your pitch. As you get towards the end of your pitch at about 50 seconds, it'll go yellow. And then when you finished and hit your end point, it goes red. I'm sure everybody's familiar with this. These are the same colored lights that you've been running through all these years. Anyway.
And if I'm here, well, you just won.
Okay, so here's my basic pitch is who you are. My name's Bob. What's the problem or idea? I would like to design and manufacture the ultimate home office, because what I've noticed is through the pandemic is that remote work has become more and more an acceptable thing to employers. But when our employees go and work from their homes, they're at their kitchen table, they're on folding tables with one monitor, and it's terribly, terribly inefficient. And so I think there is a market for the ultimate office designed perfectly for the remote worker. It helps to solve some of the problems the employers have with accountability of time, and it also has helps to solve some of the logistical problems that you run into trying to do it from the dining room. And so, your pitch could go on and on. Brian's screen would go yellow, and then it'd go red, and then that's basically it. Now, if someone's interested in partnering with me on that concept, then they can reach out and contact us. At the end of this SoftTech meeting, we're going to put the ideas and the contact information out to the entire email list. So if someone's interested in that concept, we can help connect the pieces together.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.
Okay.